To watch Doctor Who's The Space Museum all at once is, as I said, overall maybe a slightly disappointing affair. After the genius of the first episode, we get very typical meandering over the next three, especially episode 3. This 4th episode wrapping everything up. We're grateful we got the first episode, but kind of relieved it's over. Does the critical response to this episode reflect my own perspective? Let's find that out. An article in the Times Educational Supplement in May 1965 described the serial as enormously contrived, adding that the series has run out of imagination. An audience report prepared following the first episode's broadcast was generally positive, with praise directed at the exploration of unknown and extraordinary concepts. There was a general preference for futuristic stories instead of historical ones. I have to agree with that generally, though some viewers acknowledged that the show was becoming formulaic and found the episodes slow. A second audience report, prepared following the final episode, was more critical, with criticism directed at the underdeveloped ideas and rapid resolution and the general repetitiveness of the show. Some felt that Hartnell was often unsure of his lines, and the supporting actors in small sets were criticised. Retrospective reviews were mixed. In the Television Companion 1998, David J. Howe and Stephen James Walker considered the first episode promising and the general concept fascinating, but felt that the story falls as flat as a pancake. They lauded the main cast, particularly Maureen O'Brien, but criticised the supporting cast, describing Richard Shaw's role as one of the worst performances yet seen in the series. In A Critical History of Doctor Who 1999, John Kenneth Meyer praised the story's use of 2 prominent science fiction themes, changing the future and discovering one's own death and attempting to alter it, comparing it favourably to The Twilight Zone, though he felt that it was diminished by the trope of planetary revolution, as previously told in The Daleks and The Web Planet. In 2009, Mark Braxton of Radio Times felt that the story kicks off so well, but failed to take the opportunity to discuss ideas such as predestination. He praised Vicky's vibrant character and described the scene of the Doctor in a Dalek casing as one of the few elements that make this rather tedious trapeze memorable. TRAIPSE. In 2010, Total Sci-Fi Online's Jonathan Wilkins similarly enjoyed the first episode, but described the remaining 3 as dull, bog-standard Who that plods rather than races towards a deeply unsatisfactory climax. SFX's Nick Setchfield enjoyed the lovely fourth-dimensional weirdness of the first episode and the refreshing Moroks reminiscent of Douglas Adams' work, but ultimately criticised the serial for being a dull representation on the show's formulaic Rebels vs. Despots storyline. Writing for Doctor Who magazine, Graham Kibble-White said that the first episode falsely set the audience up for 3 more weeks of high-concept plotting, which ultimately became dreary except for some of Hartnell's charm. Cliff Chapman of Den of Geek considered the first episode slow and never really paid off, and criticised the performances of the guest stars, but lauded the camera direction, FX work, and main cast. DVD Talk's John Sinnott praised the mysterious storyline and comedic moments. Charlie Jane Anders of IO9 listed the first episode's cliffhanger as among the programme's best. In 2021, Catriona Mills identified the Space Museum as an inverse of British museums. While the former displays conquests on a colonised planet, the latter displays colonial treasures in the heart of an empire. Yeah, it's interesting. For some commentary in the first episode, there's some brief, again, going back to the idea that the first episode of the 4 is more high concept, there's this idea that this museum is reflecting the state of the British Empire, or the British after the decline of the empire in the post-colonial era, when they're just kind of, the empire's over, they're just kind of looking back on their great era of they're over it. They're absolutely over it, although their whole cultures and their great pride is, looking back on, the past and all the things that they have in their museums, which may or may not be theirs. Those Elgin marbles. I don't think those are from Cornwall exactly, but, whatever. The Space Museum is what it is. Do let me know in the comments if you think I've been too harsh on this serial, or if you would like to share in the general disappointment for the overall execution of episodes 2 to 4. Feel free. In any case, have the best possible day and night you have ever possibly imagined.